Hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of the Hello, Hello podcast. I am your host, Alyssa Rogers. And today, we are at the home of WHLF. You know the station 95.3 with the voice of Halifax, Nick Long. Thank you for being here today or allowing
pleasure.
us here.
Absolutely. Good to have you.
I am very excited to interview you today. And we were just talking about how we're turning the tables on you because you've interviewed so many people over the years. And now I'm here to interview you.
And I told you about the control freak story.
Yes,
there's not many days of the week where I get a little antsy, if not nervous. Today I am because it's not my baby. So I'll go with the flow.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
Well, I feel honored to be sitting with you today because, like I said, you are the voice of Halifax. You've been around a long time. Everyone knows you, and they don't have to see you. They know you. You're all around.
Could have been why I was around so long. You know?
And so I want everyone to get to know you a little better and kind of your story of how you got to where you are today. So kind of start, like, how did you get here?
Well, there was a friend of mine, and Andy Hall. He's now working with NASCAR. Worked with NASCAR for a long time in media. He was working we had classes together. He was a year ahead of me in school, and he was getting ready to go to Elon, and I knew he worked at the radio station, and I said, hey, what's going to happen when you leave? And he said, would you be interested? So I went down, and, I was working. Well, the whole summer, I learned how to do it, and when he left in the fall, I kind of just took over. Then when I graduated the next year, I went to the Broadcast Academy of Richmond, and after 18 months, I had gotten the necessary license that I needed to have. Went to work first to Crewe, Virginia. That was basically a feeder area that sent guys to school, to stations within an hour's drive, something like that. They had a little network set up. And then I bumped into Mr. Cole again, and he said, what are you doing? And then he gave me a job. So that's pretty much it. I've worked at radio at Crewe. I worked briefly at WODI in Brookneal. I've worked here on 3 different occasions, and I worked at the radio station in Roxborough. So
wow.
That's the story in a nutshell. Basically.
What was it like the first time you went on air? Were you nervous?
No, couldn't wait.
You couldn't wait?
Yeah. It's, it's something about when you get the job, because I had prepped. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when I started, like I said, in high school, no, it was just, I'd watched Andy do what he had to do, and everything was so structurally formatted. Back then, I thought it was formatted. Today, things are way, way more formatted.
Yep.
There's, it's less, you really have to stay in the boundaries. But, Andy did it.
Yeah.
I could do it. So that was it.
I love that. I mean, you found your passion very early on.
Yeah, I tell the story that the AM/FM transistor radio that we got for $9.99 was the equivalent of today's iPhone. I mean, because, we could listen. My dad was in the military when I was a kid, and we'd listen to St. Louis Cardinals baseball, and there'd be kids over here listening to, Beatles records, and someone else listening to Motown, and we hung out, but we had this little device, just like an iPhone. It was $9.99, but this was $9.99. Okay? But it was just so much that was coming out of that little box. I said, I could do that. That would be neat to do. So that's when I got hooked, was with a radio. And when you have the controls, you could figure out what you wanted to listen to or do, and
And you have the voice for it.
Well.
You have the voice for
very
it.
kind. Thank you.
Yes, and you talked about sports a little bit because you've been very involved in sports over the years, and I just think it's fascinating because that's a huge commitment.
Well, and again, sometimes you just have to get lucky.
Okay.
It was 1980, the baseball season, 1980, and WSBV was on the air. At that time, Ken Parton and Press Young did the ball games. Ken got an offer to go to SBV and be their general manager. So here it is, baseball season, and they had no one in the building that had done it. So I went, hey, yeah, count me in. So Press and I did a baseball game. In fact, we started late in the season. He and I started working together, and Halifax, of course, was great in baseball. And baseball is a relatively slow game, and then tons of excitement, and then it slows back down. Halifax and GW played, for the district title. I think it was like one of the first games that I did. And when I left, a guy came over and said, I was working in the concession stand. I came out to watch the game. He was listening to the game. He said, I went back in because what you guys were doing was better than watching the game.
I love that.
Yeah, so.
And I've always wondered this because I look at sports broadcasters, and there's such an art to it because, like you said, there are slower games, and there are moments. How do you make it exciting?
Well, you do a lot of prep.
Okay.
And that's usually, especially at the high school level, there's several sources, but it usually boils down to parents, friends, and coaches. And I mean, like at that time, Frosty Owens was a coach.
Yep.
Frosty loved to set things up. He'd give me and we used to do a pregame interview about 3 or 4 minutes before we do the game. And he would always give me a little tidbit, about this player, and we'd look over the lineup. This guy does this, watch him for this, and so, and then again, you bump into parents, you bump into friends. Standing in the grocery line, somebody will say, how about the game Friday? Or what do you think about the game? But if you listen, people will tell you stories, and then you tell stories. I've always tried to, I feel like setting the stage is the most important thing. Like today, you've got a cloudy day, be cool, great day to play, and notice wind direction, and then it's, but if you listen, people will tell you what to say.
So to be a great broadcaster, you have to be a great listener, it sounds like.
Well, and I think this is, first thing I asked when you guys came in here is where are your notes?
I know. Okay? He was giving me tips.
And you're working without notes, but there's only one way you can do that, is to listen. Okay? And I told you I always had 10 bullet points when I'd interview a coach so that I would try and get to the things that should be important. But you could be on number 3 and he says something and 4 and 5 doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
So, listen to what people are saying. And that's really good in, I just think anywhere.
Yes.
I remember taking some improvement class and somebody said something to me and I said, well, I know what they're going to say. And they said, how do you know what they're going to say? So and then I thought about it and I went, yeah, you got to listen to people. And then learn from what people tell you,
And so you talk about preparing, and I love that you asked me, where are my notes? And I learn stuff, every time that I do an interview.
Well, how long have we known each other?
We've known each other a long time.
Right, okay.
A long time, and I've always been very fascinated by you, and I've really looked up to you because it's a commitment to what you do, and you have to show up, you have to be prepared. And so when you talk about those 10 bullet points, like what are the main things you want to know when you're going into an interview? How do you prepare?
Well, political interview is different than every interview is a little different. But, I just, what are the things, how can we benefit from this, sports is kind of simple, because obviously you want to win a game, although there's a lot of times you do an interview and you know you're not going to win the game, And it's not that your team is bad, but their team is better, okay? So, but, you want to give the coach a chance to tell his story. He knows they're better. There's no doubt he or she knows that the opponent is really good. So, what happened last time we played, last week, what have you done to get better? What do we need to do to be competitive? I mean, there have been a lot of times when we shouldn't have. I recall the first or second year Rob Cincinnati was here. Halifax played EC Glass in the playoffs. EC Glass was a significantly better team than we were. Halifax had been running the ball, but that game, I think we threw the ball 40 out of 55 plays. So they were not expecting that.
Yep.
So he did something. Plus, we also had this Mavens kid. He was like 6'4" or 5", and he could just post up. But, there was some, you just sometimes you want to find out what they're thinking, and sometimes they'll tell you. A lot of times they won't.
And then
Anyway.
you talked about the political interviews, and you've had a lot of those, a lot of local elections that you've broadcasted.
And I, and again, I've tried to work with local politicians because these guys are not professionals. Okay, they're trying to do community service.
Sure.
The last thing I want to do is hit them with a gotcha question.
Sure.
I want to, what do you believe is the most important issue? Tell us why you think that. How can we get there? Those type of questions. So they're not totally open-ended, but they enable them to take it and run with it. And then usually they'll tell you something,
And as a broadcaster, and facilitator of stuff like that, you have to stay very neutral.
Yes.
And how is that for you?
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Because I think usually you will leave and both of them will be convinced that you were against them.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. But it's all good because, they know that it's politics, and you just, you asked him this question, you didn't ask me that question, or you gave him more time to respond than I had. And I get it. They're difficult to stand for election in the local community where these people that you're running. But I try and tell every one of them, and this is the truth. You've heard in salesmanship, buyers are liars, voters will lie right at you, baby. They're gonna in a minute. And I get it, but.
And you've been doing this a long time. You probably have so many, but what is an interview that you got that really stands out to you? Someone that you've interviewed that just really stands out in your head as one that you're proud of? Or
I don't know. I have enjoyed being educated.
Yep.
Okay, by especially local leaders. I'll say that instead of politicians, because I would rather have leadership than somebody who knows or has his political agenda and he's going to stick with it.
Yep.
Damn the torpedoes type of deal. But I remember, guys like Paul Stapleton and Larry Clark, and they were working for the better good. Okay, we haven't talked about this, but for about 25 years I did races at South Boston Speedway, almost 30 years. And there are guys came through, and I called Denny Hamlin Frank Denny Jr., I would mix those guys up. But you think about the Jeff and Ward, that's when Mason used to own Mason Day used to own South Boston Speedway and Orange County, and Mason and Dorothy would, they went out of their way to set me up with people. I sat down with Mike Joy and I worked a race together.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was very cool.
That's really awesome.
It was amazing talent, just really, really talented. Interview. I've got a cassette somewhere that's got Earnhardt written on it when he came to Sobo.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to say, but I did enjoy working with. I do like working with people who are, trying to make Halifax a better place.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And we got a good group of leadership now, and I'm hoping we can get more people involved. And the next generation's coming right along.
What would you like to see for Halifax in the future?
Well, I don't want to sound like a politician, but we need economic development. More things. It's fabulous stuff going on in our community right now. I think we need more regional cooperation, especially with Danville and Person County and Mecklenburg County, which is doing an excellent job. All three of those locations. And just as I'm looking for a little bit of help from those communities, we should reach out to Charlotte County and try and give them a little, because regional is going to work better than local every time.
Yes.
Except on Friday night when you're playing baseball or football or whatever, you know, and you want to go at it. But I would like to see economic development. I'd like to see quality of life issues. You know, James Edmonds gave us a park. The state gave us a park. And then we've got facilities at schools. We need stuff, you know. Of course, we got a trail. That's great. But, I mean, those are the type of things, you know, you and I have talked about the brain drain a million times.
Yep.
You know, it's the 3 R's, reading, writing, and the road to Richmond. That's not
Yep.
really what we want. You know, we want to keep some good local talent here, but you have to make investments, do things to incentivize that type of behavior. Although, in a world where a lot of people can work from anywhere, you know, my daughter works for a company in Durham, but leaves South Boston maybe once or twice a month to go down there. You know, we've got to do that type of thing. And that requires, you know, things like the broadband initiative. So, you know, what would I like for Halifax County? I'd like for us to have a couple home runs, you know.
Yes.
And I do believe the people in those positions are trying.
I do.
Don't get me wrong. You know, it's not easy to succeed, and you're not always going to get it all right. You know, if we get a little right every once in a while, that's still right.
And I asked that question because it's something that you won't talk about, but I want to put it out there. You not only do what you do in the broadcasting and give back in that way, you have probably been on every board, every committee at this point, and you give back so much of your time to Halifax County and the region.
Because?
And I want everyone to know that you are such a huge part.
Well, you're very kind. Yeah, but again, you know, because I do this, because Halifax has given me so much. So, I mean, it's, you know, and you get what you give. You know, it's a song, that type of thing. The more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it, you know. I have some young people in my life that I'm trying to give. I would, like you said, I was lucky to have the job that I had. I loved what I did. I love being able to do it. But a lot of times, jobs aren't fun. Okay, and there's some young people in my life that I don't have that built-in work ethic. And I try and explain to them, but if you'll work for them and you'll do the nonsense stuff and you'll learn some things and you'll move up a little every so often, but if you'll work for them, they'll give you money. And you can do whatever you want to when you're not working for them.
Yes.
But that's another thing I like to see Halifax County. Somehow, some way, there would be an initiative, you know, and I know the mentor role model program is doing a good job at that. But the value of work is what I'd like to, you know, that's why I do what I do, I think.
Well,
I enjoy it.
You set the example. Like, you
Very
really
kind,
do.
very kind.
And, I mean, going to radio, what do you see as the future in radio?
Well, it's just like where I am now. When I started to work, we were in this building.
Yeah.
Of course, when I started here, we were at the security building downtown. But when they brought this building over here, like in '78 or so, I could do a quick count, but I'm thinking it was like 15 or 16 people in this building. Our company, Lakes Media, now has 6 radio stations, and we don't have 16 people in the company.
Wow.
I mean, the computer I absolutely love to hate. No, it's a wonderful device, and it makes, you know, Justin works. Justin works. Your Justin works for us and works for LUS and does it remotely. Kelly comes in and works for 4 radio stations and can do it remotely. When it snows, the phone calls come here. I just listen to the messages, and instead of having to come here and work through the snow, I stay at home and, you know, do it. It's just, you know, this industry is tremendous opportunity.
Yes.
But it really is, it's just different. I mean, it's totally different. Yeah.
But I think that could be a good thing, right? Like we were talking about.
Well, I mean, it's just like I was watching Squawk Box this morning. There was a show about, there was an episode about this EIN Co. something trucking, and it's totally electric, totally automated. There are 16 trucks that they're running now, and mostly lightweight stuff. They're not doing heavy hauling, but there's a lot of lightweight stuff that's transported. And there were 4 guys driving 4 trucks each remotely,
Wow.
you know? So same thing
Different
here.
world.
I mean, yeah, and plus there's the economy of scale. There used to be, you know, for 6 radio stations, there have been 6 traffic people. Now there's 1, you know, so.
And you mentioned so much opportunity in this world and broadcasting. What advice would you give to anyone that's looking to get into broadcasting right now?
Well, and you know, all you need is the video machine, and you know, the internet. I mean, there's internet radio stations, really, really good ones. Okay, you know, I don't know about their funding structure. I mean, how do you make the revenue? But you know, if you want to do it, do it.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I have a daughter in LA that's got a little podcast. You know, and it took nothing more than a couple $100 to get a
Right.
camera, and then she had to do. She does it all though. She does the editing and everything. But anyway,
Podcasting is big right now,
absolutely, and valuable,
and everyone has a voice.
and everybody has an interest.
Yes.
You know, so I mean.
And I tell everyone not to look at how many views or listens or however they want to gauge it, because when I first started, I was so excited to get 10 people. I'm like, oh my gosh, 10 people. I mean, when you put 10 people in a room, that's a lot of people.
And 10 people who, and again, 10 people who will listen to the story and step out and multiply it by 5 by telling mom, dad, sister, and the 2 guys that, you know, you just bump into. Did you hear?
Yes.
You know? And, you know, it's just like, you know, the old Google that stuff or something like that. You know, you can search for a podcast on anything.
Yes.
You know,
you can.
and again, that's where I'm talking to, you know, that's why I'd like to talk to young people, is that, you know, there's no limit on what you can learn.
Right.
And or the things you can do.
And what does the future look like for you?
Well, let me see. I don't see life changing. I'm playing a little more golf.
Yes.
You know, I'm not doing the broadcasting anymore, much broadcasting anymore. I do a lot of things that grease the wheel. You know, I've got 2 grandkids. I've got a nice little garden. I've got a bad hook that I fight and chase sometimes, and I have this. I like to play golf, but I like to putt them out.
Okay.
So I make sure we keep score, and you know, but that's just it.
That's that control.
I guess it is. Well, I know a lot of guys go, "That's good," and I know it's not good, and especially when I've missed that putt.
Yeah.
I've seen it, and I mean, you know, Nelly Korda won the U.S. Open.
Yes.
And on the 18th, the ball goes 270 and falls in. And this is one of the most talented, gifted athletes in the world. So, put it out. Count scores. You're not the way you know how. You know, again, that goes.
That's how you get better, right?
That's how. Yeah, I remember playing golf with Charlie Payne and Billy and those guys, and you don't know what you shot if you don't score them all. So anyway, but I mean, my future is that, and my future is helping with the community, doing the stuff that I do, like, you know, the working with the school board and working with the chamber and that type of thing.
No slowing down for you.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I've had total knee replacement on the right side. I did total knee replacement on the 5th of March, and I'm going to do the left one in October when I can work that in. So, yeah,
I guess you will be slowing down a
Yeah,
little bit
slowed
for a
down
little bit
quite
of
a
time
bit.
until you can get back on the golf course.
Right. But it was 7 weeks. Well, it should have been longer, but I had booked a golf trip with some friends for the 21st through the 25th or so of April. I did the surgery in March, and I said, well, look, I'm going to go even if I just ride around.
Yeah.
Well, I was too stupid to just ride around. I played, and I was beat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But you were out there.
I was out there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am thrilled that you're out. You're still doing it.
Life's
you
good.
are a legend
Well,
of Halifax
right.
County. Thank you for everything that you do.
This is a big fish in a small pond.
Oh well, hey,
Right.
you're
I
a
got
big
a
fish.
pond. Yeah, right.
But hey, you've done so much for the community. Everyone respects you, and I mean, like I said, they know you. You don't even have to be seen. They know who
Thank
you
you.
are. You're
Thank you.
everywhere.
Very
Thank you
kind.
for everything you've done. Thank you for allowing us in here today
Well, this
to
was
talk
fun.
to you.
This was fun.
I hope so.
I was sweating for nothing.
What did I forget? I didn't have notes, so did I forget anything?
Not that no, you did a great job. We just talked, like you said, we're just
It's
talking.
just a conversation, and I feel like I know you better now. I know everyone else will feel like they know you
Good.
more.
Good.
And I just appreciate you spending time with us today.
Pleasure's mine, Alyssa.
Yes.
Anytime.
And I appreciate everyone for watching and listening today. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I mean, we are sitting with a legend today. Please put in the comments what you love most about this. If you want to know anything else, put it in the comments, and we'll be sure to have Nick back on because he has so much information. And I just appreciate each of you. Continue rating, reviewing, subscribing, doing all the things you always do. Let me know who you want to see next, and I'll reach out to them. And we'll talk to you next week.